If your projects are built on a clean, perfect data set, then you are not really practicing data analytics. You are practicing something else. Because real data is not clean. Real data is messy. It has missing values. It has duplicates. It has inconsistent formats. Things don't just work like that. And if you are wondering where to actually find that kind of data, not the perfect CV files that you see everywhere, but the kind that forces you to think, then this video is for you. After my last video, a lot of people asked me the same question. Okay, I get it. Clean data sets are not enough, but where do I find messy data? And honestly, that's a very valid question because most data sets that you see online today, especially in tutorials, are already clean. Everything is structured, everything is guided. You are told what to do, you are told what to expect, even what the output should look like. But when you start working with real data sets, it is very, very different. You open a file immediately and something already feels off. Some values are missing. You will see empty cells across different columns. Then you move to another column and the format is completely different. Columns don't align. You are not even sure what some fields mean. Sometimes you just pause and look at it. Wait, what is this supposed to represent? And there is no instruction telling you what to fix. And that is the part that most people don't practice. So if your goal is to actually grow, if you don't want to just complete projects, then you need to spend some time working with data that does not cooperate with you. You need to spend some time working with data that is messy, that is not already cleaned. Not all the time, but enough to stretch you a bit. So instead of just listing random websites, I'm going to be showing you 5 places that you can get real data sets, and more importantly, what to pay attention to when you use them. Because downloading data is one thing, but knowing what to do with that data is another thing. So I'm going to be starting with the first one: open data portals. These are data sets released by the government and organizations. Now, what makes them different is this: they are not created for learners. They are created for reporting, for policies, for transparency, or for internal use. So when you open them, they don't try to guide you. You just see data and immediately things feel off. Some values are missing. You will see empty rows in places you don't even expect. Some columns don't even make sense. The names are not always clear. You might even find multiple sheets and you are trying to figure out how to connect them. Sometimes you scroll for a few seconds and just stop because you are trying to understand what you are looking at. Like, okay, where do I even start from? And that moment is part of the process. The second place is websites, and that is what people call scraping. Now, think about the website you use every day. You see e-commerce sites, you see job boards, you see listings. Now, just look closely. Prices are written differently. Some includes currency symbols, while some don't. Titles are inconsistent. Some are detailed, some are vague. Some listings have full information, others barely have anything, and you're expected to work with that data. And that's the data before anyone cleans it. That is what exists in real situations. Even if you don't go deep into scraping yet, just seeing this helps you understand that data doesn't come naturally in a neat table. Another place real data comes from is through APIs. And don't let that word intimidate you. It is simply getting data directly from a system instead of downloading a file. For example, we have weather data, we have financial data, we have product data, and that is how it is often accessed. The easiest way to think about this is scraping is like reading what is on the screen. You open Amazon and you are like, scraping is like scraping and getting what is on Amazon script. Why APIs are like asking the system directly. So you are not just looking at what is on the screen, but you are getting that information directly from the system. Now, the data here is usually more structured. Yes, but you will still see things like nested fields, repeated values, things you don't immediately need. So you still have to decide what matters and what doesn't matter. You don't need to go deep into it now, but just be aware that this is how a real data is accessed. Now let's talk about Kaggle. Kaggle is not a problem, but the way most people use Kaggle is the problem. Most people go for the same data sets. They go for Titanic, they go for Iris, they go for Netflix data sets. But after a while, everything starts to look similar. Everything starts to look familiar. You've seen the same charts everywhere. You see the same question everywhere. You see the same answer everywhere. If you are using Kaggle, try going a bit off that path. Pick something that is not trending. Pick something that looks a bit rough when you open it, even if it is smaller. Now, this one is a bit different, but very, very useful. You can actually use ChatGPT to generate messy data sets, not the clean ones, but messy ones. Personally, I've used ChatGPT to generate a lot of dirty data sets. Even during my trainings as well, I don't pull from some places. I just go to ChatGPT, give it some prompts, and it gives me some use cases that I can use for teaching. And that is what you also can do. So for example, you can prompt generate a messy retail data set with missing values, duplicate entries, inconsistent date formats, etc. It will give you something to work with. Sometimes when you generate it, it may look too clean, so you adjust it. You ask it to introduce more errors. You ask it to give you mixed formats, probably the date format. You can tell it to mix it to short date, to long date, etc. You can also ask it to leave gaps, maybe missing values, missing cells, and all. And now you are not just analyzing data, you are thinking about how data can go wrong. This is especially helpful if you are just starting and don't know where to begin. At least now you have something you can work with immediately. And at the end of the day, you don't just get better by working with perfect data. You don't just get better by working with clean data. If everything is already clean, most of the thinking has already been done for you. But if it is unclean, you will have to stretch your brain. You have to think on your feet. You have to think about things you can do to do better. So you are not just following steps, but when things don't make sense immediately, you have to slow down. You start asking questions, like I said before. You start to think, check things again. You start to make decisions as you go, and that makes you a data analyst. Because if you are using an already cleaned one, then that part of data analysis, which is data cleaning, has already been done for you, which is even the toughest part, which is even the one that takes 80% of the total time that we use as data scientists, that we use as data analysts. So if someone else has already done it for you, then you are just doing the easy ones. Then how do you grow? Then how do you improve? Then how do you become better? And that's why it is very important that you work with messy data so that you can grow, so that you can improve. So if everything you've been feeling feels too smooth and clean, I want you to start something different today. Pick something slightly messy. Sit with it for a bit. You don't need to figure everything out immediately. You just need to start. If this helped you, I would also be showing you how to actually turn these data sets into strong portfolio projects in the coming months. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss anything. Thank you.